What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheen, joined by my trusty, thankful co-host Dave Martin Swagger. Dave, how you doing, man?
Oh, so thankful. How's it going, man?
Good. Holidays are we're in the holidays. I'm not even gonna say they're upon us. We are
I
deep
agree.
inside the
It's a
holidays at this
sprint,
point.
the holidays.
Yeah. Not only a sprint for the season in general, a lot going on, a lot of gifts to buy, a lot of things to plan. But for us, this is like the end of the year, like figure shit out. Gotta watch movies, gotta wrap up TV shows, gotta make those lists. How you doing with yours?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing good. These are the content minds are thriving during the holidays. You love to see it. So stay tuned for all the year-end lists, which we love to make. Very excited to do that once again. I think the lists are pretty competitive this year. It was a good year for stuff. As you would know if you subscribed at youtube.com/nostalgiapod. So
Stay plugging.
stay tuned for
Um,
that.
yeah, we're gonna have an end of year list coming up. Hopefully, we'll have a few things to pad out the pod next week because it is starting to hit that end of season lull for a lot of things. But a couple of big things, movies and albums on the horizon. TV's pretty much wrapped up for the year, but that's okay. It's been a hell of a TV year, which we'll be talking
Oh, yeah.
about. But Dave, today we got a few albums, a big TV show, which I think we'll both be talking about whenever we do our end of year list, and then some
Spoilers.
movies as well. But why don't we start today with a K-pop singer, Bibi, dropping? Is this the debut album for
Yes.
Bibi? She's been signed for a few years. I think 2017. She initially signed to her label, but this is the first album. And Dave, I'm really interested to hear if you liked this because I had some. It had a very specific vibe to me, and I want to know if you had the same one. So tell me first, did you like this?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect too much. This is the first debut album for BB, but her first release of any kind, really, besides like one single on 88 Rising. I think she has a K-pop background, but it's kind of shifted a little beyond that and is now part of 88. And that's how I became aware of her. She was featured on the one of those Head in the Clouds EPs that 88 put out earlier in the year, and was at their Coachella set, of course, this year, which got a lot of attention, a lot of love. So someone I was keeping an eye out for, but still didn't really have, too high expectations, didn't really know what to expect. And I was definitely struck with the production on this. It definitely surprised me quite often. Um, I don't know if I necessarily love BB vocally on this, but in like reading more about the album, the concept she was going for is pretty interesting. So yeah, I thought it was for a breezy listen. I think there was enough like switch ups with the production and the instruments that I was at least entertained the whole time.
Yeah. So this album, Lowlife Princess Noir, I thought was interesting in a lot of ways, but the vibe I kept getting from it was 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. It had this like I don't even know like the beat and the like I don't even know like the vibe of each song. I just felt like I was like slithering through them a lot of the time, and like man, it felt like a few of these songs were just pulled straight from the soundtrack. If you had asked me to guess, I still thought it was pretty good, but it was really hard for me to shake that feeling. With that said, though, a few of the tracks that I thought really stood out. Animal Farm was one of those songs that had a like really strong 50 Shades of Grey vibe to
Hmm.
me. Like,
The electric
but
guitar solo at the end there, out of nowhere.
yeah, so cool that like switch up, but I think it's that like beginning that where it's like do 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 do, and it's like just like the violins like kind of slowly in the background. It's great, but yeah, that electric guitar at the end was a choice way to end it, and her vocals were really like shining by the end, so I really appreciated that one. And then another track that I really liked was Moto Speed 24.
Hmm.
I thought that was a really solid track, just the next song, but I felt like those two back to back were probably the highlight of the album for me.
Yeah, I like those ones as well. Moto Speed, you have like just really catchy, I think, kick drums that just nice beat there, nice vibe. Um, Yeah, I mean, there's so many like flourishes on this that I just wasn't expecting. Like right off the jump with BB Vengeance, which is a reference to the Park Chan Wook movie Lady Vengeance. On BB Vengeance, you have like drums reminiscent of reggaeton. I was like, where did this come from? Is this a Bad Bunny song? What's going on here? Pretty cool. Then right after that, of course, you get the Animal Farm guitar at the end. You get the really fun drums on Moto Speed. And it just kind of keeps going. Like Low Life Princess, her flow on that's really fun, but that's like a trap song. She's like rapping on that. I was like, God, there's this. She's just bouncing around, dude, all kinds of stuff, you know. On Johto at the end, I thought her vocal breakdown was actually like really good. I think that was probably the best like singing performance from Bibi on the whole record. I like that one. And then the last song too, City Love, just pretty impressive instrument display once again. So for a breezy listen, you know, someone I wasn't really checking for too closely. I was definitely struck with the instruments, and I would be interested to hear her pop up on the next 88 Rising and the Clouds album for sure. I feel like she could quite easily pair with some of her new label mates. But yeah, I think in terms of like pop music or K-pop music or anything, it's like I think like this like kind of like specific like aesthetic that she's really going for with this album. I guess it does stand out, you know. I think I would still like to hear I think a bit more consistency from her vocally, but overall, like I said before, it did enough I think to keep me entertained with all the flourishes.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you on Jado. I thought that was probably one of the more catchy like pop songs that we had on there. I thought that was really fun. And yeah, just to circle back to Moto Speed 24 near the end, there's this like strobe vocal like flourish to it, which I thought was like really interesting. And just to kind of like highlight your point that some really interesting choices in production throughout this. Also, just the song Wet Nightmare, goddamn, what a title! Like, incredibly sexual, but in like a way that I never would have expected. So I thought that was pretty cool. It seems like she has some interesting ideas and perspectives. So definitely someone we're gonna stay tuned to. And you should stay tuned to our Nostalgia Best of 2022 playlist on Spotify. Hit that follow and stay up to date with all the music that we're talking about this year, including the new Stormzy album. This is what I mean.
Mm.
I guess this is
Album 3.
technically like the third like
Yep,
Stormzy album,
correct.
but man, listening to this album definitely different than what I expected to hear from him. But the reason I said I guess this is the third because he feels like such a more established part of the music scene and just like so well respected. And I think an album like this, though unexpected, certainly just speaks to his vision and I think the respect he has to do something like this.
Yeah.
Obviously the label was not pushing him to just kind of put out the same old thing. They want him to be himself, and I think this is what I mean. While surprising, certainly something to talk about and respect. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I think that's all right. I'll be honest, I definitely struggled with this album personally just because it
Hmm.
is such a stark departure from the showy qualities that you expect from Stormzy that we've come to know over the last like 8 years. Not to say that there isn't merit to this really introspective and personal album that he has delivered us here. I'm just not as invested in this because it's just not as fun to me. I don't know. I
Dave
saw
wanted
a
the
lot of love.
bangers.
I saw a lot of love for the album. I did, you know, but like even like the promo single "Mela Made Me Do It" isn't even on here. You know, I like that song quite a bit. That song was pretty fun. You know, you got like Jose Mourinho and Usain Bolt in the music video. He's talking his shit like he does, and nope, doesn't fit the vibe of this record. So I understand why it's not here. But yeah, I mean, I like Stormzy a lot. I really do, and he's definitely earned the right to just do an album like this. And I
Hmm.
think it is cool to see him show the ability to diversify in such a, I think, a stark and complete way that he did sonically with this. Where I mean, just plainly, like if you think about the most famous Stormzy songs, the biggest Stormzy hits, Stormzy is a swagger filled rapper. That is what he does. That is how he blew up. That is why he is the most commercially successful grime artist in the history of Britain. That is why he is one of the biggest artists in Britain, period, you know?
Mhm.
And he really didn't do that this time around. And, it's a hats off thing to me, but it's not really what I would like to hear from him. So that's just me. But I mean, how did you feel about it? What did you take away? Because I mean, there's no Vossi Bop on.
No.
This is what
No,
I mean. It's quite different.
no, there's really not. I think throughout the album, I was kind of waiting for something to just like completely grab me like that, and so through the first listen, I was a little disappointed. Then I was like, I just want to kind of keep playing through this, especially because I was listening to a lot of it when I was like doing other stuff. So it was like good background music to have, like pretty like even though it has like Afro beat to it, and there's definitely some like nice production flourishes, nothing like that's super energizing or grabbing your attention. But then the more I was like
Mellow.
listening to it while driving, listening to it while like like typing up notes for work and things like that, I was like, like that really caught me. I love that like production choice. And I think no song um like caught me that way more than the title track. This is what I mean, right? The first time I listened to it, the beginning is pretty like stark, just really Stormzy kind of rapping, and then slowly these like vocals start like building around it, and the vocals are just kind of like shrieks or like little like yelps, but the way that they build it up and then cut it back out is just like so well crafted and like unique. And I was like, man, he's really like envisioning something. And then it just explodes, right? There's like that like explosion of like the drums, and then the vocals are kind of like really filling in the background. I was like, oh, okay. I really appreciate that. Although on the first listen it didn't really grab me the same as like the first track, Fire and is it Fire and Water, I believe.
Yeah.
Where, it's pretty low, pretty mellow, pretty like toned back, just kind of him, yeah, rapping for the first half of the song, and then the beat really kicks in. And listening to that in the car, I was like, "Oh man,
Mm,
this is really beautiful." And I think what stood out to me more on each listen was just how the band or the musicians he was working with to craft this were all just like on the same page and really like buying into his vision, because it feels so well crafted. And like
mhm.
there, I have so much appreciation for it. Although, like you said, I don't know if there's a track on here that I'm gonna like point back to and be like, that's Stormzy's like song right there. It's not. There's no bangers.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was pretty. I noticed it like a lot, like right away. There's like tons of background vocals on this album, right? Eventually, we start getting to full on like church choir in the background.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's our good friend Sampha doing background
Oh
vocals,
yeah.
gets his own song on this. Nice circle completion moment when he did the song with Heady One 2 years ago. Speaking of UK rap, love me some Sampha. I think even like Thames and some other like Afro pop artists are in the background too. Like I always love flourishes like that. I think the thing that just really like gets stuck in my gears with this is just that like it's like Stormzy singing and like Stormzy being like really like gentle, you know. And on one hand, again, admirable to see him open up in uh, such a personal way, really speaking about more or less his love life and the ups and downs he has gone through that through public relationship and whatnot. That's all cool, but I just don't. I'm not really here for Stormzy singing. I don't know. I just really couldn't get into it. Like he's fine enough at it. And like you said, the album is really well constructed. It sounds great for what he's going for. It's just that like I just can't get past the Stormzy of it all. You think of a song like Please, you know, big Stormzy line on that, right? Please leave Megan alone. Of course, referencing Meghan Markle. My presidents are black, but I'm Serena for you Sharapovas. These like wordplay that I expect from Stormzy, but I just think like he did these kind of ideas and songs better on the last record, Heavy as the Head. You think of a song like Superheroes, for example, which is both like a Stormzy like brand song, but also has I think like a bigger message about it. And I think liked like the message songs on This Is What I Mean the most, but I just don't know if they really stack up to some of his past attempts at this. I guess I think the end of the record I thought actually was the best part of it to me. I think it finished pretty strong with like Holy Spirit and I Got My Smile Back. Uh, I like those quite a bit, but yeah, I mean, I was just like, man, I want you
Throw
to
Dave a
fucking
bone.
dominate this shit, man. Come on, dude. You're
He's dominating
29.
a
You don't
different
gotta be
way.
this personal yet, dude. I want you to be having fun still. What the hell?
He's dominating a different way. I really think like um we, we know that he can do the bangers. Like I think for
Yeah,
him this was something he wanted to do to prove not only to himself but to other
yeah,
people. Like I'm more than just this one note type of artist. I do think a song like My Presidents Are Black, that's probably like the biggest like banger on this album, or like up tempo song, not very up tempo at all, but probably one of my favorite like tracks on there. I also I agree. I think I Got My Smile Back was really strong. Um, Hide and Seek I thought was a really beautiful track, although one of those like more mellow, personal ones. Need You, like a very personal like love song. I thought that was pretty great. And yeah, always great to hear Sampha pop up. So like
yeah.
I left pretty satisfied, man. Like
Where's
I'm
the
not gonna
Sampha
lie,
album, man? Give us
it's
the
coming.
Sampha album. It's been so long. Of
You
course, the
know he's
Kendrick
just gonna
feature this
drop it.
year on Father Time, amazing.
Yeah.
We're the streets are calling for the Sampha record. Hopefully, 2023. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just for me, like Stormzy already proved that he was a multifaceted artist, and he had already broken down all the boundaries as a headliner of Glastonbury, headliner at Reading, multiple number one albums, Brit Award Album of the Year. Like he is so accepted in British music culture. So he didn't have to do this for anyone else. He did this for him. It's clearly a cathartic exercise for him. I'd definitely be curious to see what the mix is on the tour that will follow this record. Of course, the Heavies the Head tour didn't actually get to happen until last year, 2021, due to COVID. So I'm sure he'll just still get back out there and tour this album. I would still will seek him out if he comes to the U.S. again to see him perform. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I wonder like what that mix would be, because when I think of like famous like clips of Stormzy playing, like when Dave would bring him out as a guest at like at like Reading and Leeds or something, like he lights obviously the crowd on fire. Like they love him there, but they love him there when he's doing Clash and Vossi Bop and stuff, right? And I don't know like what is the vibe when he's doing like some of these joints. Uh, then again, the Burna Boy hit from the last album was a pretty big hit too. So perhaps he has a all-encompassing fan base already. I'm not sure, but yeah. Shout out Stormzy, still a big fan, but this wasn't my favorite. But I'm glad you liked it.
I also have a lot of faith that, similar to like Billie Eilish, for example, right? Some of those songs are newer songs that we weren't as like
Yeah,
into. You
good
play
point.
him live, you just find a way to like bring the energy to him. He's definitely going to be that way, so I have no doubt for that. Stormzy still good. He's going to be around for a long time, so
Oh yeah.
enjoy the different things we get from him. But let's move on to Andor, one of the most anticipated shows of the year, one of the, I would say, most well received shows of the year.
Oh yeah.
And man, I think after some of the things we've gotten from Disney, Marvel wise,
Marvel.
even some of the even some of the Star Wars
True.
shows that we've gotten this
Boba
year,
Fett and Obi-Wan, not the best Star Wars TV year.
not the best Star Wars TV year. This was like just a breath of fresh air. And man, this is exactly why you just let creators fucking cook, right? They just gave Tony Gilroy like the keys to this story and let him make the story he wanted to. And he fucking not only hit the ball out of the ballpark, but like into a different fucking stratosphere. Like this was so much more than I ever thought a Disney Star Wars property could be, and it makes me
Hmm.
really excited for what's to come in the future. How did you feel about
Just kill me or take me with you, god damn it. You know what this is, Pat? This is the feeling of vindication. We would talk
it?
about this, what you just said, for so long. You gotta let the artists make their art. And you know what would be great? If those artists that you're letting make the art happened to be, you know, one of the most acclaimed and prolific screenwriters of the 21st century, and Tony Gilroy.
Yeah,
You know what's
be
really
great.
cool about Star Wars? When adults make it and
Hmm.
treat it just a little differently than how it's been treated before. Not that how it's been treated before is bad. I am a huge Star Wars nerd. I love the shit out of Star Wars in all forms. But oh my god, was this just like, man, it was just a blast every single week to be with this show. Not only like the longer runtime, 12 episode season, but the structure of it, right? Like four distinct 3 episode arcs was, I don't know, just there's just like I think a high floor to Tony Gilroy making anything. That's kind of obvious, but I don't know, like the competence that you just felt at all times being in this world, and just I think it being so evident with the writing, with the character work on the show, that it's just a bit more thoughtful and engaging for it than you expect from most IP storytelling. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was really spectacular, and there's a few moments that I think are just like high end, like Star Wars, like period. And I think anticipation for season two and the narratives that they're setting up for season two, character deaths that we know are going to happen one way or another, like they are going to destroy us in season two, which will likely be in 2024. And man, it's going to be a tough wait. But I thought this was beyond my wildest expectations, and that was coming from having a lot of affinity for Tony Gilroy, having a lot of love for Rogue One, and still, I think the expectations were really really raised. It's kind of unbelievable still.
It's such a it's so funny to think about this show being made in the wake of the Rise of Skywalker, right? This like complete hedge by
Yeah.
this media company that's like, no, we actually can't take the risk that Ryan Johnson wanted us to take. We have to go right back to the same thing we've been doing because we just gotta keep our money maker going, baby. We just gotta like keep giving the same slop we've always given. And man, to then just let Tony Gilroy take this story and just be like, you know how they fucking got to Luke Skywalker? On the fucking graves of all these people from around the galaxy
Right.
who
People you'll
just had
never
to
know about,
sacrifice.
normal people, you know?
And
It's so great.
it's just like incredible to like be in this world. And not only that, but it's so fucking creative. Like watching the prison, right? At first I was like, all right, they're going to prison. Like, cool, like a prison break
True.
storyline.
That's
Yeah,
that's
you
how I
know,
felt too when
we've
Cashin
seen this
gets
before.
arrested. When Cashin gets arrested, like 6 year term, and like, oh, can't wait to watch him break out. Let's keep it
E-
moving. Like, you don't
Exactly.
expect the 3 episode prison arc to be as thrilling and emotionally thought provoking as it ended up being.
And just completely unexpected in terms of structure. Like, how did he ever think of the like electrical floor to like be the way that the prison like keeps people in line, or having this like built-in like game like slave like system within the prison.
Hmm.
Just like so unique. Something that is completely creative. And yeah, like you talked about, the emotional like arc of Cassian in that right way, right? Where he finally starts to figure out how to like use his skills to be a leader, but not only that, to like be the person to like identify who's good at what and actually like pass the ball and not have to rely just on himself to do things. Like just completely amazing. And obviously you get a amazing like 3 episode arc from the goat.
Andy
Man,
Circus.
yeah, Andy Serkis, just like
Kino
incredible
Loy.
the whole time. Yeah, so I thought that was incredible, and also just the way that you come to like be so invested in all the different parts of the show. You know, I mentioned the prison, but some of the most intriguing scenes were with Mon Mothma and just like
Mhm.
sitting in a room, just talking to people. It's very Game of Thrones-ish in that sense, where
Yeah.
like you
Palace
have
intrigue.
you have like the action scenes, then you have the political scenes, but just completely captivating in all senses. And Genevieve O'Reilly just absolutely crushed it. Like, yeah, hearing Tony Gilroy talk about it and be like, yeah, so I was told like I couldn't like change that casting, so I just like had Genevieve. I heard she was pretty good, but like she was incredible. Like it's just like awesome to hear it all like come together, and how I think the way it was crafted just like elevated everything about the show.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think the way the prison arc ends, where you have Kino give the
Oh yeah.
speech using Cashin's words, and like you have all the prisoners, the one way out chant, gets all the way to the end, and Kino's like, can't swim, you know?
I
He knew
can't
the
swim.
whole time he couldn't fucking swim. He knew the whole time they were on a water planet floating above it on their prison.
And he did it
And like
anyway.
it's the tragedy of it all is like so great, for a character you met 3 hours ago, you know? And I think just the characterization is just incredibly strong, and that's what I think shines through. And that same episode, you get to me the moment of the season, which is the Luthen speech
Stellan
to his
Skarsgård.
mole at the ISB. Stellan Skarsgård, amazing, but like that that was like a jaw dropping thing to me. Like you watch his mole, you know, follow the trail, take the elevator down many levels, and then he opens up and you just see Luthen there on some catwalk with a cape flying in the wind, the most Star Wars thing I've ever
Yep.
fucking seen.
Looking like
And then
Darth
what
Vader.
happens? Skarsgård chews the shit out of some amazing Gilroy writing. And what is he actually talking about? Only the thesis of the entire show, the meaning of rebellion, the whole meaning of Star Wars. It's incredible. It's
What
the
do I
coolest thing I've ever
sacrifice?
seen. I loved it so much.
He's got such a perfect voice for that role too. But yeah, man, that was a show-stopping like monologue to end the episode. That episode, I think it's episode 10, is like
Yeah,
potentially episode of TV for the year. Just like it's up there in the conversation. That's in a really strong
I
uh
agree.
year of episodes of TV, but just TV in general. Yeah, Skarsgård I think is my like pretty clear favorite part of the show. And I mean like so many parts of it are great, but like him basically playing three different characters, the guy who runs the antique shop, the
Mhm.
Luthen who's like kind of a dick on the outside just trying to like stay alive and like fuck people over, and then the one who's a little more like schmoozy, like team leadery. It's like very interesting to see him like navigating all these different worlds and just kind of putting on different masks to make this all
Mhm.
come together, and to actually like see the plan, right? Like to see that there was like this like idea of how he was going to like spark this like I don't know, rebellion from
Like
across all these different planets.
social
Just
unrest, just like get it
yeah.
going, basically.
And but like then also to have these things like happen to like provide a spark of like hope that they could fight back, just incredible. And then I think you actually get that even more highlighted by the speech at the end of the season by Fiona Shaw's late
Marva.
character Marva, which is just like an incredibly thrilling like end to the season. Not only is her speech like Fiona Shaw just like crushing it, but then like everything that comes after that just feels so, it felt like real. Like you felt like you were in this moment of rebellion and of people just kind of like fighting back. And I was just like I was completely blown away by the ending of the season.
Hmm.
So just overall, I was just like, man, from start to finish. I think the first like two episodes, the first one's pretty good. Second episode's a little slow. They're actually going to be showing these on um, uh, Disney or not NBC, ABC. I'm sorry, brain
ABC,
fart there.
Hulu, Freeform, FX, all the Disney properties. That might have already happened. I believe that was over this past weekend,
Ah,
um, which was an obvious attempt at the reportedly lower ratings and viewership for Andor compared to other stuff, which of course is unfortunate. But I think I'm quite confident that this show in the year it'll have off the air will continue to grow an audience once people find it. Because I
hmm
think it's hard to find anyone who was like put in front of Andor and wasn't compelled to at least some degree. Like it is incredibly well made, and yeah, I think Lucasfilm and Disney they're obviously very proud of the show, the way they've talked about it and marketed it and stuff. So I'm not really too concerned about that. But yeah, man, speaking to the Luthen stuff you were just saying, right? You have two, which could have been on the surface, fan servicey scenes where Luthen goes to see our old buddy Saw Gerrera, played
hmm
by Forrest Whitaker, who of course played him in Rogue One, a character created on the Clone Wars. People know, but those scenes, it's a great way to see, like, I think the many philosophies and the complicated splinter nature of the rebellion. And I think that was really great, when they both kind of come to terms that they're going to sacrifice their fellow rebel Krieger for the greater good, for war, as Saw puts it.
Hmm.
Krieger, just like let them go to keep their cover, keep their momentum, a sacrifice. And it's like,
Yep.
it's kind of like a gutting thing to hear them talk about someone you've actually never even met, but just like the way they're talking about, like, basically how zero sum uh a fight against the Empire is. It's like, I think that kind of stuff like really grounds you in the stakes of something that in lesser hands can just come across as overtly familiar or just kind of one dimensional, good versus bad, right? But like
Hmm.
Andor is so steeped in the gray and still so steeped in like what the right thing to do is not immediately clear. And that's why I think I just respond to it so well, to see, I think, this kind of approach to like dramatic storytelling in the world I love so much. Like, it's just it's just so fulfilling to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Um, a couple of people that I think really grew on me throughout the season, a couple of characters that grew on me throughout the season, um, would be Denise Go, who plays Deidre Miro.
Oh
Um,
god, yeah. She's
I
great.
thought I thought at first I was going to completely despise her character, and I think
Right.
even though obviously she's the villain of the season,
Yeah.
seeing
And
her,
established as a bad person. She really
yes,
enjoyed torturing Bix and whatnot.
and what a completely like creative torture method. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how Tony Gilroy thought of
Sonic
that, but
torture, emotional
yeah,
distress kind of thing.
I thought that was really thought provoking. But yeah, I thought she was great, Deidre, throughout the season, and really grew on me. And seeing her whole like back and forth with Cyril, especially how he like saves her at the end. I'm interested to see how that like plays out in this next section. But then Faye Marseille, who plays Val,
Val, yeah.
um, man, she really grew on me throughout the season. When you first see her, when Cassian gets put onto the team there,
Yeah.
um,
On Aldani.
yeah, it seems just kind of like, like she's all right. Aldani, it's funny to think about. It feels like so long ago
I know, I
because
was just
how
thinking
far the
that.
season comes, But you get Will. Man, what's his name? No, sorry, Alex Lawther plays Will on
Yes.
Sex Education, but he's incredible in this show. Too bad that he gets
Right.
tragically killed.
But what an awesome like side character, right? A philosopher in the
Mhm.
world of Star Wars. We've literally never heard of such a thing, separated
And
from the Force, and having that be like a key aspect of the genesis of the rebellion,
yes,
an ideas man. Like, again, it's simple, but it's executed at such an excellent level because that's
mhm.
who's making the show.
Yep, completely agree. But yeah, Faye Marseille, especially as she keeps popping up around Mothma
Right. When you
as her
realize they're
cousin.
related, like there's extra layers added to Val post
Yeah,
Aldani that you're not expecting.
and just seeing how like her undercover, she has to like be this type of person that she just totally is not, right? And obviously a lot of that is what's going on with the rebellion in the show, but like how Mothma's like, can you just go home and be a rich kid for like a few weeks just to like
Right.
play your cover up a little
Let the
bit?
heat
Like I
heat
just
die down.
yeah, I just like loved seeing all that, and she really grew on me. So those two, Deidre and
Right.
Val, were
I mean,
my
how
two
about
like
Val's
heroes.
relationship with Cinta? With just a
Yes.
few scenes, a few side eyes, a few gestures, to me, one of the most developed queer relationships Disney's ever done. They love to talk about, their first gay ex character, however they do it, but they actually did it here with real work in a compelling manner. And if that relationship goes poorly, like I unfortunately think it will in season two, you're going to feel that because they put in the work quite efficiently at that, already showing you how they're going to be driven apart by the uh, different priorities they have, you know? Um,
Yep.
to get that with the people that, again, like you said, you just meet them and you think they're just part of the Dirty Dozen, the Aldani crew. And like,
Mhm.
there's just so much more to it. It's just quite satisfying. I mean, shout out Eben Moss Baccarat from the Aldani heist.
Hmm.
Obviously, he's having a great TV year between this and The Bear, obviously. Good for him. But I mean, the Aldani heist in and of itself, I think, is incredibly thrilling. Um,
Hmm.
but just you don't expect like that to be like top the way it is when you get the prison scene. You know, you get the finale arc, which I don't think the finale arc is the strongest arc of the series, but I think it's still a pretty effective finale for the
Hmm.
season we had. And I think Cassian, ending the series, going up to Luthen, you know, being like, "Hey, kill me or take me with you. I'm fucking sick of this shit."
Yeah.
And then you juxtapose that with what actually happens to Cassian and what happens. Do we assume most of these rebels? Nothing good in the end, even if it's for the greater cause. It's again just I think really compelling place to be in a universe that we've said for years is just the ultimate sandbox and opportunity to really engage people with genre storytelling, but they really did it with Andor.
They certainly did. Can't speak highly enough about it. Any last thoughts, Dave? I think we're gonna be talking about it again very soon.
Yeah. Again, I just want to say it again. Like I love Forrest Whitaker's line readings as Saw. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
Krieger.
he's great. Oh man, it's really great. I love Skarsgård's whole vibe in this. When he's actually in like the Luthen like rebel mode, like
Yeah.
his voice. What did I sacrifice? What did I sacrifice? How
Right.
about peace? Like I just was like, yes,
Yeah.
fucking get him.
What a beast.
So good.
Also, by the way, him just being a fucking boss and fucking up a tractor beam and
Oh,
escaping in his ship. Of course.
incredible moment, incredible moment. Also, like, never wanted to like go buy a Star Wars like action figure more than I want to get that ship.
Let's
Just
go.
incredible.
Yeah, the
So
lasers were sick, huh?
yeah, that just what a moment. Anyways, we'll be talking about Andor very soon, I think. But let's move on to the big screen, Dave, where Timothée Chalamet back on the big screen, covered in blood, naked on Dave's screen, or
Back
shirtless
with
at
his
least.
guy Luca Guadagnino. Call Me by Your Name reunion for Timmy and Michael Stahlberg as well.
That's not peach on his face though, Dave. Tell me about Bones and all.
No, Timmy doesn't eat the peach in Bones and All, but he does eat some human flesh because this is a cannibal story. Ding, 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 ding. We talked about a cannibal story not too long ago, this year, with Fresh, the Daisy Edgar Jones, Sebastian Stan, Hulu Searchlight film. People might remember that. There's another cannibal movie that just came out too. I don't even remember. But this is like the third of the high profile ones this year. And yeah, Bones and All. Uh, Quite a throwback kind of story, but I think it's interesting and compelling for a number of reasons. Firstly, like I said, the Luca Timmy reunion is great. Luca Guadagnino seems to really bring a lot out of Timothée Chalamet, who I think everyone knows has been tapped for the last 5 years as one of the next great American movie star, really the leader of his acting generation. I think acclaim and clout he has earned through just great choices and just great performances, and can't wait to see him back again in Dune next year. But something like this is, I think, what really won people over to the Chalamet experience in 2017 in Lady Bird and Call Me by Your Name, because there's just a certain magnetism to the way he acts as a performer. And that being said, he's actually not like the lead of Bones and On. The lead is Taylor Russell, who is another, of course, rising acting talent. I think very fondly of her performance in the second half of Waves, for example. But pairing them together, uh, I think really sparks, because Taylor Russell is also quite up to the challenge and can hold her own against someone with like the wattage of Chalamet, and that was really cool to see. And Bones and All, it's a 1980s set story, so in the past, no phones, different vibe, and it's really kind of a on the road romance story where you get I think quite cleverly shown introduced to the cannibal side of the story through Taylor Russell's character. It and in her travels, she encounters Chalamet's character, who is a fellow cannibal, and they kind of become kindred spirits and lovers, trying to find, I think, purpose in meaning in their lives. And it's I think quite a intelligent movie because it's not really about like the gore or the horror. I wouldn't call it a scary movie at all. Like if you don't like the sight of blood, it'll bother you. But it's bloody, but I don't think it's scary, nor is it like indulgent in that regard. It's almost kind of like less about cannibalism than I expected, or at least less about the act of like watching someone eat somebody else. That's not really like what this movie's trying to do. It's more about, I think, like a self-loathing story. Like these characters know that they are not normal, and there's a fucked up thing about them that they can't really control, and like that's what this movie really is getting into, about how these characters can find that inner peace and what even that means. And I think Timmy, towards the end of the movie, like I think really communicates that really well. Um, yeah, I mean, in the process, you meet some other characters that cross paths with them. Mark Rylance plays a incredibly effective, uh, creepy character. Let's leave it at that. He's really nailed it. And then Michael Stahlberg, as well, reunion with Timmy and Luca, plays a different character, but also a bit unsettling. And I think that's what's kind of cool about Bones and All is like it'll like leave you in these unsettling and uncomfortable positions as a viewer, but it doesn't ever really, I think, take advantage of that because it really is more invested in like these two characters' relationship and their personal journeys and how I think messy and not straightforward that kind of stuff is. So yeah, it's by its nature, not for everyone. It's still about cannibalism, but I liked it quite a lot, and I would recommend it. It hasn't had a big box office, but I'm sure people who are interested will seek it out when it's available to them, and I would certainly recommend it.
Luca and Timmy is a unbeatable combo. Do you think this was a nod to Army Hammer for them? No, bad joke.
I made that connection when the Army Hammer stuff did happen. It is honestly hilarious that that is as on the nose. It, but that's our reality. Like it's
Yep.
kind of amazing. Um, Yeah, yeah. How about Arby Hammer? You know, he
How
could have been in this movie, perhaps in a different life, but alas, here we are.
Yeah, who knows if we'll see him again. But anyways, I can't wait to check this out. Love Luca, love Timmy. Them together's great. And like you said, I think um, Taylor Haven or Taylor Russell is definitely someone just to continue buying stock in. It seems like she's poised for a breakout in the near future. But Dave, let's talk about somebody who has completely broken out, and not only broken out, but made, I don't know, 10 to 15 of the most important movies of all time, and that's Steven Spielberg. Uh,
Perhaps the signature director in the
of
history of Hollywood.
Yeah,
Old Steve,
I mean,
him.
I'd say he's like top 3, right? Maybe top 2?
I
Put
mean,
Hitchcock above him?
I mean, I feel like you have to put Spielberg above Hitchcock though, because of
You
the
think so?
populism of his movies. You know,
Yeah. The populism is the argument, right? I think
right?
Hitchcock.
Like he's like the heart of Hollywood. Steven Spielberg, great movies that are also widely loved by many. You know, I think this is kind of
Yes.
everything. You know,
And The
People
Fabelmans.
know Steven Spielberg, 30 something films in. We're back again. And man, has he been working, huh? West Side
Yeah.
Story, The Post, uh, bunch of shit, you know? And he's got another movie coming out soon. He's making a Bullet with Bradley Cooper based off the cop that Steve McQueen famously played in one of his few film roles way back in the day. So we love Steven Spielberg, like Ridley Scott. He's getting older, but he is not slowing down at all. It's great. So the fact that he wanted to make an autobiographical film about himself that also is applicable to the love and mystique of movies and the heart of cinema. Sure, I don't fucking care. He's been making a lot of good shit. Why not?
Yeah, I really love that he basically was just like, this is my 35th movie. I'm making a movie just talking about how fucking brilliant I was throughout my whole entire life. That I've always been this good at making movies. That's pretty much like one way that you could look at this. That he's just like, I have always been great at this.
I was so fucking gifted, wasn't
Yeah,
I?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think. people who want to be cynical about the movie could take away. In reality, I think The Fablemans is a very thoughtful and well told story about Spielberg's life, and more importantly, like his relationship to his parents and how that
Hmm.
uh, those individual relationships, I think, shaped his movie making abilities and directing abilities, but even more so how I think they shaped and influenced his life and his the way he came to like just understand the world in general and interact with the world. And there's so many like layers to the Fableman, right? That I think have I think it really left me just like admiring Spielberg's movie crafting, maybe even more than some of his more popular movies. You know, you think about the idea that like the beginning of the movie is framed as he goes to see his first movie and is terrified by the train, so he starts
Hmm.
making movies as a way to like control this fear, and that's exactly what he's almost
As like
doing
an
in
8 year
reading.
old with a camera he begged to get for Christmas, or sorry, for Hanukkah.
Exactly. And now we're watching a movie about probably one of the scariest and most challenging parts of at least his teenagehood, if not his adulthood. And it's like
Hmm.
we are now Spielberg watching this, watching him like process his trauma in real life, and
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting to think about that, as well as just like what he's trying to say about both of his parents. I think there's a lot to like dig into there, as well as his uncle. You know, I think his uncle is interesting in this too. So a
Uncle
lot to get into,
Boris.
but did you enjoy the Fablemans, Dave?
Definitely, definitely. And honestly, I was going in with like, I think, kind of mixed feelings. I didn't
Hmm.
watch the trailer, and like knowing what it was about broadly, I was like, huh. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna watch it. I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be really well made. It's Spielberg, right? And that's kind of where it stopped for me. And I think quite quickly the movie actually did grab me, and I was like, oh wow, this is, I think, a lot more engaging and thought provoking than I expected it to be. Um, this is coincidentally very similar to what Armageddon Time is for James Gray, another autobiographical film about a successful director's childhood and how it led to their uh, looks on life. Now, Fablemans, I think, is quite different because it's much more focused on the director's relationship with cinema itself. Armageddon Times, I think, a bit more societal and higher level. Um, but I was quite engaged, I think, with that family dynamic right away. Like when you watch young Sammy watching Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth and being fucking shook, dude. Hilarious, hilarious. Him going back in the car, and Paul Dano and Michelle Williams, his parents, are like telling him stuff, and he just can't hear anything. Like that kind of brought me back as like an old school like slapstick humor type vibe of the past. That was really fun. But I think it really, I think, takes like the next level up once we meet adolescent Sammy, like teenage Sammy,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
we get the of course the new actor playing him, which would be Gabriel LaBelle.
He's
Um,
great.
yeah, once we get there, I think the movie just, like, it really like ratchets it up, right? Like the family dynamics get much more challenging, and the personal stuff going on in Sammy's life. Yeah, a lot of coming of age stuff you might be familiar with, but I think it is conveyed in quite compelling ways. And then there's the set pieces of the Fablemans are like watching young Sammy be a director at a young age, and like they're like these huge set pieces, right? Watching him have all his Boy Scout buddies be soldiers and stuff,
Mhm.
or watching him direct his high school class on the beach in Santa Cruz. It's like really like engaging scenes that on their
Totally.
face are quite simple and small because they're fucking child making a movie. But like, damn, like I was like really really entertained watching like the movie making stuff.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be when, you're not only watching him like put together these movies and that are still really impressive, but you're kind of viewing them as like, oh well, a kid made these movies. But then seeing the way that the people in his life are responding to what he's doing is just so
Hmm.
much more like intriguing about it, right? Seeing these people who are seeing themselves in a different light than they ever might have imagined themselves. Seeing that Boy Scout who he like directed to be emotional as he's like walking away from the battlefield where all of his men died, like it really making people in the room emotional. Like I just thought that was such a cool moment. Or at the end with the two bullies, how he kind of makes a fool out of one of them and then makes the other one look good, but in a way also makes him feel small by how big he made him seem on the screen. Like really just I think e- empowering to a character that you're completely bought into, especially as Sam is kind of thrust into the middle of his parents' relationship, or and I guess like also his uncle's relationship. Therefore, when he's asked to, edit this family, the film he made of this family trip, and comes to discover that his mom and his uncle seem to have some sort of romance going on that his dad may or may not be aware of, or at least explicitly acknowledging. So it's I think not only emotionally really captivating, but also just cool to like see Spielberg kind of show like where some of these movies where he first started to kind of like develop his touches for some of these movies. I mean, it's hard to watch the like the Boy Scout movie that he makes and not think of Saving Private Ryan, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
it's kind of hard to like watch like some of like the scenes with his sisters and think about like ET or things like that, like these kids movies. And like it's just like I think fascinating to see like him kind of sprinkle parts of his own life that feel so familiar to people and be able to kind of pull it all together. Now there's a lot of big name people in this that we haven't really talked about yet. Paul Dano, Michelle Williams plays parents, Seth Rogen plays the uncle, and then a couple of high profile cameos here and there. But tell me what you thought about Williams and Dano.
Yeah, I was immediately grabbed with Dano just because I think a lot of people have been saying this, but like this is not like Dano's bag. Dano doesn't do normal people.
No,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
exactly. Like when I think of Paul Dano, I think of the prisoners. I think of
The Riddler.
I think of the
There will
Batman
be blood.
this year. There will be blood. Exactly. You know, his milkshake gets drinking up. That's what I think of. But he's actually incredibly credible as I think this character. I liked him quite a bit as the dad, and I think the way he played off Michelle Williams and the way and Spielberg develops the fracturing of his parents' relationship, culminating in a fucking gutting divorce scene where all the kids are sobbing and Sammy's just shook on the stairs staring into space. The next thing you know, he's fantasizing about how he could film the fucking thing like the dork he is. But
Hmm.
like it's a child divorce movie right there. I'm
Yep.
not a child divorce, so I can't relate to it, but I thought it's quite effective. And next thing you know, you get Julia Butters, the young goat herself, back
Yep.
again as one of Sammy's sisters, reaming out Sammy's selfish ass. I was like, wow. I didn't even recognize Julia Butters in the moment. I didn't notice it till later, but I think another like huge part for a very young actor, obviously after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she bust out. That was awesome.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like Dano. I like Julia Butters. I like Rogan a lot too. I think
Yeah.
Rogan stealthily has established himself as having a bit of dramatic chops. Obviously, he's still a bit on the humorous side with this character, but I liked him. I think the Michelle Williams character is probably the most challenging because it's a character who kind of starts to have mental health issues in some way. I think just depression probably broadly, and like Michelle Williams kind of comes across as like a bit of like an airhead early on, and then like once it gets to the more like clinical side of things, I don't know, it's a bit more up and down. But ultimately, like even if like I don't know, like it's perhaps a bit of an on the nose performance, Michelle Williams is still like obviously so talented that it's still good enough whenever you're with her.
Yeah, I agree with you on Dano. I thought he was really good and, kind of playing this more subdued person. And obviously, I think Spielberg was really trying to highlight how he sees this like very like mechanical, logical side that he took from his dad in order to like be able to make films and craft them, but this more artistic and more like creative side from his mom, who's in the film is a trained pianist, not currently practicing, but seems like just detached from her art, longing for it in some sense. Um, Williams, I think her performance was a bit more up and down for me. Like you said, I think the reasons you laid out are right, but even just like the way that she talks at some points could like confuse me. Like the rest of the family is pretty like middle America type feeling people, but she seems like she's like out of Brooklyn. At some points, like her accent, the way she talks,
Yeah.
she's just like such like a different vibe to pretty much everybody else in the family.
Maybe that's
Um,
like charitably. Maybe that's like trying to like lay on like a Jewish accent, I suppose. But
yeah,
yeah,
perhaps. I mean, apparently she is supposed to like be playing a person from New Jersey originally, so maybe there's some sort of like connection to that area. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I thought that was pretty great. Or I thought they both were pretty great for the most part. And Dana especially feels like maybe he'll start seeing some different roles moving forward. Um, we did have a couple of pretty high profile cameos. At the
hmm
very end of the movie, you get David Lynch's John Ford, which is
yeah,
just like a
pretty
completely,
pretty close. Looked pretty good.
yeah, completely ridiculous scene, but funny to see. And then the brother,
Judd Hirsch as Uncle
yes,
Boris. Yeah.
yes, I thought he was really great.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of comes in and adds this shot of adrenaline into the movie that I think it kind of needed at that moment.
hmm I agree. Yeah, and the movie does a good job, I think, of not ever like glossing over like the prevalence of Sammy's Jewish heritage and how that has
Mhm.
affects him and his family in the past. And I think Boris kind of helps usher that along and some of the things he says to young Sammy. Yeah, that's a big scene. You know, um, even the John Ford scene I liked quite a bit. It's like
Yeah,
part of like the Spielberg myth that like he like gets to CBS when he's like 20 years old and he's in John Ford's office for half a second as some nobody. But like I don't know, like having having that scene, obviously, which is creative license, but like having that scene where John Ford was like, you see the horizons,
yeah.
which you know which one isn't boring. It's like
It's
honestly,
boring as shit.
great.
Everything
I love
else,
it.
it's boring as shit. Fantastic. Also, shout out to Chloe East, who plays Monica in this, the love interest of Sam when he gets to the
Yeah,
high school. I thought she was really great,
yeah.
and I hope to see her
We
in some
got to
more
go back
things.
and pray some more. Good old Bible study getting in the way of things. Isn't that funny?
You're a fun boy to kiss for the summer, but I'm going to Texas A&M. Just so good. Yeah, I mean, like, any last thoughts on Fablemans? I mean, this seems like it's got a lot of awards written all over it, right?
It does. I mean, the really mixed box office. I'm curious how that's going to factor in. Unless we forget West Side Story also struggled just last year at the box office, actually to a quite similar degree here, Fablemans. But I think it's more about like what could win Best Picture in its place, kind of thing. We're kind of setting up Spielberg to be on like hollowed ground with like the number of high end, trophies he would get at the Oscars. So I, haven't really no issue with that. One thing I noticed on Wikipedia, the capuchin monkey that is in the film when
Hmm.
Sammy's mom gets like a monkey to like help her with anxiety and whatnot. That is actually a famous acting monkey in Hollywood named Crystal that we have seen in famous scenes like The Hangover 2, the drug dealing monkey, and
Wow.
Naomi Zam, and actually her acting career began as a baby monkey in George of the Jungle in 1997. That is a
Ah,
28-year-old monkey. That
that's
is a
wonderful.
storied career in Hollywood. So shout out Crystal the monkey.
Shout out
Um,
Crystal the monkey.
Good
Um,
monkey acting, I would have to say. Throwing shit around, jumping around, look pretty good.
I agree. Dave, before we move on, is this your current best picture choice?
Uh, in terms of like realistic winners,
Yes.
I suppose. I'm expecting everything everywhere all at once to get nominated. That would be my selection.
Mhm.
Um, I also kind of would like Top Gun Maverick to win instead of this, but yeah,
Good
yeah.
luck
I
with
mean,
that.
of the hardcore awards fair, I think so. Although would not be opposed to Banshees of Inisherin.
Hmm. That'd be nice. Yeah, I think this is probably the number one, just in terms of populism, palatability, and movie making in general. Also, an amazing movie poster for this. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's like Sammy walking down the street and like walking towards all the like film reels of the different scenes
Mhm.
of his life. Pretty cool. Um, Spielberg's almost like a guarantee to get nominated for best director for this. I wonder if there'll be any acting nominations. Hmm.
Maybe Dano.
Yeah, maybe Dano.
The female words are really competitive as usual. Um,
Yep.
so I don't know, like Judd Hirsch supporting. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch
Yeah.
with a one scene role. Probably not. Um, yeah, we'll see. Speaking of Best Picture contenders, we still don't really know anything about Damien Chazelle's Babylon, but I'm very much anticipating that given Chazelle's pedigree. So TBD on that.
Yeah, so far the first early reviews of that of Babylon are not as promising as we had hoped, but we'll see. Hopefully, we're pleasantly surprised by it. Anyways, I think it's time to move on from the Fablemans to somebody that I mentioned earlier in the show, Ryan Johnson, back with a Knives Out story in the Glass Onion, baby. Benoit is back, and Daniel Craig just chewing the scenery as he did in the first Knives Out. A bit of a sensation, right? You say the first Knives Out was a movie sensation with kind of the revival of the murder mystery
Yeah,
genre.
$400 million off an original movie. I would hope that qualifies as a sensation in 2019. Yeah, uh, one of the biggest surprises of the year, a pleasant one at that. Um, which of course makes it all the more puzzling that Netflix was like, you know what, we don't want is box office for this. We don't want
Hell
free
no,
money. We
hell
only
no.
want it on the service
As
because
we've
we know.
talked about, Netflix is doing great, Dave. Doesn't need the money.
Yeah, the economics of that is fraught, as I think most people have figured out by now. But alas, at least they put it in almost 700 theaters for a measly week around Thanksgiving. Because I was very happy to see Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery in the theater as Ryan Johnson intended, and I had a great time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you feel like this one lived up to the first one for you?
Yeah, it's I think it's a bigger movie and it's a less straightforward murder mystery or mystery in general storytelling approach, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. But I think once the key inciting incident in Glass Onion happens, which would be a flashback and a reveal to the audience some information about character, once that happens, the movie is like on 11 until it ends. And
Yeah, and
just
I think
overall, like you have this bustling A-list ensemble cast once again. Ryan Johnson's talent, a really witty and fun script like the first one, and now we're also in a gorgeous location. This time we're in Greece. You
mhm.
know, there's just so many attributes to enjoy about it. So yeah, I really did like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think once you, and I think we'll just go spoilers from here on out. So if you haven't seen it, come back.
Yeah, it'll
Um,
be on Netflix at the end of December, so you don't have long to wait.
but once you find out that Janelle Monae's character is a twin who's undercover within this thing, everything just completely flips. And it's funny because when Andy gets shot in the film, I was like, man, they really just wasted Janelle Monae like that. I was like,
Same thing
damn, like
for me.
fucking thankless role, and then completely spins it around. And yeah, I agree. I think a little bit less like murder mystery in a sense, and a little bit more of a like social commentary. I think in a way of
Exactly.
high society, but also just in terms of like these like investors, angel investors, people wielding money to influence maybe not so thought out or more nefarious things going on. So I definitely enjoyed it. I think when it comes to like comparing this one to the first one, I liked the family aspect of the first one a lot, and I think
Sure.
like how unexpected it was also probably plays a role.
Yeah.
But
Going on.
man, it's like 1A 1B really. So definitely a lot to enjoy here. Obviously, like I mentioned, we have Benoit Blanc, Daniel Craig back as kind of the lead role, kind of doling out the rock to everybody here. But who were the other actors that really like stood out to you, or what characters did you like the most?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I just love to have Edward Norton just doing his thing in a movie, a huge aspect of it. I think it is cool to see like Edward Norton in a more like mainstream traditional movie because he hasn't really been doing those kind of roles by his choice for quite some time. But like, I think he really thrived in his role, which is kind of like a aloof billionaire type who has a higher opinion of himself than he probably should. Some obvious parallels to people in reality. I liked him quite a bit. I thought Catherine Hahn was really convincing as a politician type. Like you said,
Marjorie
once
Taylor
Janelle,
Green type.
yeah, once Janelle Monae gets to flashback and we learn so much more about the character, and you're seeing there's multiple sides to that performance. I think that's really engaging. Also awesome to see because she is not like a full time actor as
Hmm.
well, although she's doing that more often now. But I thought she was really quite fun. Also, Kate Hudson, I think, was really great as Birdie, and I think the Birdie character is really effective in terms of what it's doing. Like right off the bat, having her being someone having a quarantine party, notably Glass Onion is grounded in COVID, in the pandemic, the height of it. I think that is a cool way to start the film. Cool way to, I think, kind of establish a lot of these characters and their points of views and stuff. And I love also how they wipe that away when they get to Norton's Island and you have Ethan Hawke show up for a brief second and give them some like miracle vaccine that's not for the public. And like that was quite fun. But yeah, Kay Hudson I enjoyed. Batista, he is what kind of like an Andrew Tate type, right?
Yep.
Probably conceived before Andrew Tate was super mainstream, but you get the idea. Masculine men first right wing kind of person. Batista only has like I think so many moves, but he is quite convincing in kind of like the macho like can make fun of himself style. And that's
Hmm.
kind of what this character was written to be. So I think he was pretty good. I wanted more Jessica Henwick though. You know,
Hmm.
I think she's probably like the least served of the famous people on this movie. Or she only gets so much to do. She's Birdie's assistant. What's her biggest scene? Like one of those like one on ones she has with Birdie that like Blanc or Monet like spy on. Like other than that, like I don't know. I was kind of hoping for more from her, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, of course, Craig. I love Craig just kind of letting his hair down
Yeah.
with this role and just having a good time.
Yeah. You can just tell Craig really loves it. I mean, right from the get go when he's playing. What the fuck is that game?
He's playing
Where?
Among Us with
Yeah, Among Us. Thank you. And
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and
Natasha Leone, Serena
Stephen
Williams.
Sondheim.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And no, was this Sondheim? It was someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
there was some
anyways,
older woman I didn't recognize. But
yeah,
having Blanc, the world's greatest detective, being ass at a
eh,
detective video game is so
so
funny.
funny. Yeah, that was great. And just seeing him like in the bathtub, being like he's like depressed because he doesn't have a case to solve because the world is shut down right now. Really funny.
Right. No
Also,
purpose in life.
shout out Hugh Grant just getting
Yes.
like a 2-second cameo as Blanc's partner. Like
Yep. Love
great
it.
stuff. Um, yeah, and also just a couple other like fun things. Apparently, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the voice of Miles's clock, which I never would have
Oh,
noticed, but just
didn't
doing some
catch that.
research mentioned
Nice.
that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think like the one I liked the least was probably Leslie Odom Jr.
Right.
I feel like his transition to film has just not been as captivating as I was hoping, especially after he really just shot out of a cannon with Hamilton fame. But
Yeah, he hasn't had
um,
like that like great role yet. You know.
mhm. No, hopefully it happens for him. Yeah, Han is always great, but yeah, Ed Norton was like really just fun to have around, and even though I thought the mystery aspect of it, like it felt pretty obvious it was going to come back around to be Miles by the end, I still just like that he got so much time to just like vamp and be ridiculous, and
Yeah.
he's just so fun to have when he's in this kind of role.
And I think like the red herrings in the movie, like the qualities of a mystery film as you know them, like there's still like, I think a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And I like the way Glass Onion goes, where it's like it's all set. See the way I think they kind of trick you, right? Like they set it up about it being Miles, we're gonna solve his murder, doing his pandemic fun game with his buddies, and
Hmm.
you're expecting Miles to actually get killed, and then they have to figure out who did it, right? And that's actually not what happens. Like I thought that
Hmm.
was like a really like nice twist on audience expectation, and then they're at the dinner table, and you have Blanc completely spoil
Yeah,
Miles's grand
fantastic.
fake murder. The funniest thing
What a
ever. And
moment.
and Norton's just like, you motherfucker. He's so pissed.
Yeah.
That was amazing. The way Blanc is so proud of himself, so excited to do it. And then again, they flip it later when you realize that it's all part of Blanc's plan to ruin it
Mhm.
early because there's more going on with the movie than you're led to believe.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really, really smart. And yeah, just fun throughout. All the twists that really worked for me. Um, I thought it was like fun to see the flashbacks of all of it. Yeah, I think overall it's hard to like really pick apart like any aspect of the movie. It's just like by far I think one of the best investments Netflix has made movie wise. Because I can just see this being something any pretty much anyone can throw on and just enjoy. Um, Also, just want to shout out Jeremy Renner and Jared Leto, who both get like not necessarily cameos, but just like product placement. The Jared Leto kombucha and the Jeremy Renner hot sauce.
Right.
Just thought that was really great. Um, yeah, it was really just a fun
That's straight
experience.
kombucha. Jared Leto's kombucha.
Yeah,
Huge
I
laugh
thought you
moment
didn't
from that
drink.
theater.
How many of those have you had? Like nine.
Yeah, and then her being like really perceptive when she's lit was so funny too. He's like, "She keep drinking." That was great.
Yeah, I was wondering. Monet. She seems primed to maybe take over for Craig in this role, especially if he like takes her on as like an understudy moving forward. I think
Uh,
there is going to be a Knives Out 3, or at least there's
there
been
is
talk of it. So
that was part of the, that. No, that was part of the deal.
that's
Uh,
right.
Netflix paid big money, and Lionsgate and Ryan Johnson sold 2 and 3 to Netflix. So we will be getting a third Knives Out mystery at some point soon. Um, I hadn't thought of that, of not only Craig returning but Monet returning as well. That is interesting. Um, I would be open to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think she'd be a perfect person to pass it on to, honestly. Um, yeah, I mean, if you think about like the locations, right? So they went from a wealthy, like Westchester, Long Island,
Yeah.
maybe like Cape Cod neighborhood to like
Filmed in the
Greece
Boston area.
Island.
That house.
Where do you think they go next? I think they go like a ski lodge type of deal.
Ooh, now that's a good idea. See, I think this is a very similar thought to where the White Lotus should go for season 3, which of course has been officially renewed by HBO. Same kind of deal, right? White Lotus, Hawaii,
Mhm.
Italian Riviera. Where next? Knives Out's the same thing.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would love it to be somewhere stark and flashy, right? I don't know, somewhere in Asia,
Yeah,
perhaps. Easily comes to mind. Um, but ski lodge, I don't know. That sounds pretty cool. Kind of like nod to Bond there as well. Bond, of course, has some famous skiing stuff. Yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe like in the Swiss Alps or something.
oh man, that'd
I
be
don't.
great.
Yeah,
Love that. Yeah, I was trying to think of somewhere else that might make sense. I mean, maybe like a super yacht, right? Like something
at
ridiculous like
sea.
that is a good.
Yeah, we were pretty oceanic with this one. Literally on an
Yep.
island in the Mediterranean. Or then you get that
Can't
joke
get
later where
much.
it's like it's not even the Aegean Sea. He doesn't even know where he is on the map. So fucking
Yeah.
good.
Oh man, when first of all the glass onion by the
Yeah.
Beatles being the play out song was great, but when they walk up and he's playing Blackbird and he's like, yeah, this is the actually the guitar Paul wrote this on, and Kate Hudson's character's like, yeah, oh my god, and then he just throws it. It's like, oh, she's really great.
Why's your car way up here?
Yeah,
Well, there's nowhere to drive it on the island, Blanc. Oh my god, Norton was really on one with this, but the script
yeah.
also really helped him out. Like I think like they really wrote I think a lot of these characters well. Even someone who doesn't have a whole lot to do, like Madeline Klein's character, like she's set up. It's like oh
Mhm.
she's just like Batista's arm candy character, but then she actually gets a few moments with Monet to like be about. No, actually she's like independent person trying to focus on her brand, taking advantage of the situation while it's available to her. It's like oh okay, like there was at least a little bit under the hood with even this ancillary character, you know. So
Yep.
yeah, just a great time. And I think like the first one, definitely a movie that by its genesis as a mystery film rewards a second watch once you know what's coming. You can look for and appreciate fuller the red herrings and the suggestions and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think the
looking
Mona
forward to
Lisa
watching it.
stuff was really fun with this one.
Ah, yeah,
Opening and shutting, you know, at all these notions, and then
with the
really coming
Google
back around
alerts.
at the end, and how like the movie doesn't really end with a reveal so much as a takedown, a personal takedown, like the only way they really could get him, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, quite satisfying.
For sure. Um, Yeah, go watch Glass Onion and Knives Out Story when it hits your Netflix screen this Friday. But Dave, what do we got for next week?
All right, next week, not the hardest week in the world, but we will do our best. New music from RM of BTS, the second BTS solo album this year. Looking forward to that. He is my favorite BTS member. Also, Willow is starting on Disney Plus. Andor has ended. A new show begins. John Chu's Willow. Are you a Willow guy? The Warwick Davis film, fantasy film? Because you're gonna be now. New
Yeah, I
show
was gonna say
coming
I
out.
will be.
um, the Sight and Sound poll, 10 years have passed once again. New refresh coming on December 1st. Looking forward to looking into that and seeing what has changed in the last 10 years with film. A lot to get into there, and yeah, I think we're gonna get to Devotion, a film we didn't get to this week, but I think definitely needs to be seen. Glenn Powell and Jonathan Majors. How could you not watch that? So yeah, maybe SZA drops an album this Friday. We're not really sure about that, but we're obviously eagerly anticipating that when it does come out. So we always find things to talk about, and of course, list season is right around the corner.
Right around the corner. So hit the subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/nostalgiapod. Also follow our playlist at or Nostalgia Best of 2022 on Spotify. Jeez, it's going right to the link tree on our Twitter at Nostalgia Pod, so you can listen to the podcast any way you want to. And yeah, if you want to tell your friends and family about us, that'd be a great holiday gift for them, especially since December is next week. We'll
Yeah,
catch you. What?
I said the pod is free. Great gift.
Yeah, great gift and good for the wallet as well. We'll catch you next week.